Reentry is a big problem, and that's costing society tons of money, which means we've learned how to incarcerate people, but we haven't learned rehabilitation yet.
Well, I think this is the first question a lot of people ask me. Why am I in this space? I guess I don't look like I belong. But that's not true. So I'm in this space because I was formerly incarcerated. I remember the day that I found out that I was going to be released at some point. I was expecting to feel relief. I was terrified, actually. I was like, okay, now I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. The first memory I have, like ever, is being like kicked around my living room by my mom. The lesson I learned in that, I remember this, it was like, even if it's not the truth, like say the thing that'll get you out of the situation.
All right, well, welcome to the INNOVAT Podcast. I'm here with my friend Daniel Yoon, who you're a lived experience expert in data and tech, right? And reentry too.
Mm-hmm.
It's got an interesting story, and you're launching Dignify. And this podcast is all about exploring the intersection of innovation and social impact. And I love what Danny's doing, and he's got a unique backstory. So why don't you just introduce yourself to our guests and maybe tell them what you're doing right now, and then we can get into your backstory.
Sure, yeah. So right now I'm working on, it's called Dignify, as you alluded to. And we're basically building tech for people coming back into society from prison. There's a few more layers to that, but at the core of it, that's our mission. I think you were talking about there's a data layer on top of that, and there's also like a communication facilitation layer. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's about building tooling for helping people feel supported.
Well, right now, I think in California, and I think this is pretty much universal, reentry is a big problem. So people who are incarcerated, those who return into society, 80%-ish, somewhere in there, return back into the system.
Yeah.
And that's costing society tons of money.
Yeah.
Which means we've learned how to incarcerate people. We kind of invented that.
Yeah.
But we haven't learned rehabilitation yet.
Yeah.
So you're addressing that with best practices and partnering with others, and I describe it as gamifying it. So how'd you get here?
I mean, I think this is the first question a lot of people ask me. Why am I in this space? I guess I don't look like I belong. But that's not true. So I'm in this space because I was formerly incarcerated. And so if we take a step back, I had some education. I went to Cal, right in the Bay, and I studied biology there. I was in the tech world for a bit. Was like a PM at Apartment List. I also worked on data at Instacart for a bit. And then I was incarcerated, right? And I guess what I'm trying to say here is, like, despite having a background, education, like all the things that people think you need to be successful in the world, it was really difficult for me. It was very terrifying. I remember...
You're saying the reentry.
The reentry. I remember the day that I found out that I was going to be released at some point. I was expecting to feel relief, but I was terrified, actually. I was like, okay, now I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. It was...
How old were you? What ages were you?
Yeah, I went in at 2018, so I was about 28 years old. Ended up coming out at 33. So I spent 5 years, almost to the dot 5 years.
Yeah, if it's tough for you, imagine guys that have been in there nearly 30 years and went in as kids, some of them even as minors.
Right.
Don't even know what a cell phone is, really.
Exactly.
And it's hard.
So I had that going for me, right? Like I knew how to do a Google search, right? I had family who could support me. I had that going for me. But yeah, I could only imagine somebody who doesn't have that and also doesn't have digital literacy, right? And like, what do they do? It must be so overwhelming.
So how did you end up incarcerated? So
yeah, we can get right into that. I mean, I'll just give the comprehensive version, and like you said, people can cut it down if it's too boring. But I would say actually, it goes back to my birth, right? Because I mean, to be real, like it all starts with some trauma, and I'm not in no way trying to blame my trauma for my actions. My actions were my own. It's all my responsibility for how I live my life. But you know, this story does come with a bit of like
Well, we're not going to be able to change. I mean, we have to take responsibility, but there's that fine line. It's not about blaming, but if you don't understand your own trauma, you're never going to be able to change. You're still going to be run over by it. But, praise God, there's more research. And I mean, even going into resentencing, new laws being made to take into account ACEs, adverse childhood experiences.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it starts, I mean, to be honest, at least from my friends and my experience in prison, it starts way before they were born. And most of them, many of them are just born into traumatic experiences, broken families, and they've got a tough road in front of them. So unpack it for yourself. So it starts when you're a child, you have some trauma.
Yeah. I mean, I think the first memory I have, like ever, is being like kicked around my living room by my mom because she claimed that I did something that I didn't do, right? And she was basically like trying to get me to force me to admit, and it's something really stupid. I think it was like my brother had put a sticker on like the thermostat, and so my mom came in one day, wasn't very happy, and just blamed me for it. And so
The
how
older brother or the younger brother?
older brother.
Oh boy, was that a pattern that you're being blamed for the younger brothers?
I think so. I think, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I haven't unpacked that yet. I don't know why. I mean, I don't think I'll ever be able to unpack her motivations. But yeah, there was like this idea that like from an early age, somehow I was like the mess up. And my brother was, I guess, the mature one. Um, yeah, maybe it's just like an ageist thing because there is that in Korean culture where it's like if you're older, just from that virtue alone, that you're more wiser. So yeah, maybe it's just because I was a runt. But yeah, she kicked me around. I was bawling, I was crying. I'm not trying to downplay this. This is pretty terrifying for me. And
How old are you at the time?
maybe 4 or 5.
Oh, wow.
And so like the lesson I learned in that, I remember this. It was like just even if it's not the truth, like say the thing that'll get you out of the situation, right? So I remember like telling her it wasn't me, it wasn't me. It didn't help. So eventually admitted that I did it, which I didn't, and then she stopped. So I was like, it started giving me a very perverse, like I think, relationship with authority. And how
Do you know they did these developmental studies with kittens? I
uh,
saw this. We're born with perfect eyesight. Like I don't think our eyesight is better than when we're a child. Okay. But we have to learn the framework to be able to see. And you go through different stages while you're learning that. And there's a stage where you're learning to distinguish like vertical lines.
Mhm.
They put glasses on kittens that had like, shutters across them so that they couldn't discern a vertical line.
Huh.
And then after they develop, during those, however long it is that they're developing that, then they take those glasses off and they're forever blind to like a vertical line. They'll like walk right into it. So that's just like,
Sure.
when you're a child, you don't have anything to compare it to. And you're so impressionable.
Yeah, so that's a good point. I think just like that, like I think that stuck with me for a long time. And of course, like
That's not, when did that memory of that come out?
that's a good question. I mean, I think it was always just like wafting around my brain, but I don't think it
It's
actually
influencing you, but you don't
Right.
know what's influencing you. You're just acting away.
but I don't think it actually came to the forefront until actually my incarceration.
Yeah.
And I think I mean, I don't know how other people have experienced incarceration, but for me, I did take the time to like think about myself, right? Like, how did I end up here? And there were programs that helped that too. A lot of good programs that helped you like go deeper and understand your trauma. So yeah, it was from then I was like, you know what? This memory, I remember this. I always remember the feeling, but I think it wasn't until I was an adult or in that situation where I remembered why it might be significant to me.
Okay, so that's your setup, your upbringing.
Sure, yeah.
And unlocks you up for that, though. So how did that go?
Well, I'll just put a little more in. That kind of relationship continued, right?
Was your father in the picture?
My dad, they split when I was very young, like maybe 6, and then he also passed away when I was about 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That probably contributed. That definitely contributed.
Do you know they say that a divorce of going through a parent's divorce you when you're a child is as traumatic, or I think it's like number 2 traumatic to losing one of them to death. And in some ways it's more complicated because you lose them, and as a child you can't discern the reasons why.
Right.
They're gone, and then you blame yourself, and then there's not the closure, where there would be if, they die. It's tragic. You get tons of sympathy.
Sure.
But in the divorce, you feel all that. You lose them, but there's no closure.
Yeah.
Those are very traumatic things.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think I remember I was always like the class clown when I was younger, and I think I remember there's like a very distinct shift in how I've approached the world after that. I feel like I kind of just was more mellow.
After they divorced?
After they divorced, yeah. I remember like I was always like the funny guy, and then after that I was like really closed up. I don't think I really was very social after that.
But you're successful, right? You get an education, at least, you're working in the tech world.
Well, yeah, I think the reason I start there is like, these are things that I never addressed. And I think a lot of it actually has to do with maybe my ethnicity and having this like kind of like school success, maybe masked a lot of it, right? People are telling me I'm doing good in school, so maybe I don't have any problems, right? And then of course mental health isn't really discussed in Asian cultures. So like I'm not really sure what's going on. Definitely have anger issues, but like in my mind I'm like that's normal or whatever, right? So yeah, all that to say I haven't really addressed that. And then it came out in little ways, right? I always had a penchant for like stealing little things. Since a kid, I think it was like candy bars, some knickknack from like a Walgreens or a Target, right? Looking back, like I think I rationalized like, oh, I grew up poor, so like it's my way of like kind of accumulating wealth or something, right? Like that, right? But yeah, regardless, I've always had this instinct with stealing things. Like man, some of it's kind of weird too. Like I remember I was going to like Korean school at church on weekends, and then like there's like a really old.
So your family's in the church this time?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the church. I think ever since we came to America, we started going to church. I'm not entirely sure if my family was like got into it for religious reasons in the beginning. That's just where the Korean community congregates. Like Chinese people have Chinatowns, Korean people have churches. That's just kind of like our social hangout spot. But yeah, I started going to church at a young age. Yeah, and then we have like these things called Korean schools on Saturdays that the church hosts, and I guess what else
Korean?
I teach out speak Korean.
Oh, okay.
And my Korean's horrible, so I obviously wasn't paying attention in those classes.
That's probably better than mine.
Maybe. We'll see. Maybe not. But I remember like stealing some memory cards out of that digi computer on one of those weekends when the teachers had like left. So I mean, all this to say is like, yeah, I had a little kleptomania.
Okay.
Got me into a few wrecks. I mean, when I was in college, I did I stole some laptops from some fellow students, and again, I don't want to seem like I'm excusing it, but I've rationalized it at least. It's like I remember I grew up with a low self-esteem, so I remember when I hit the college campus, I was struck by like how different everyone was from me, how happy everyone seemed. And like I think I remember just thinking to myself, like, why was I different? I felt like very broken, right? Like why do people just seem to have this like this confidence that
It always seems that, yeah. it turns out, I mean, if you get to know them, they're just as broken as you, but you project them as having the confidence and you don't have it.
Yeah, I didn't have it. And I wasn't good at faking it, so I felt pretty exposed. And so, yeah, the plan was to steal the computers, sell them, and then buy things to make me like feel better, look better. Yeah, make me happy, right? Um, maybe buy things for my girlfriend, right? So like there's some kind of like acceptance there. All kinds of like really weird crap, right? Like just very complicated like way that I'm processing the world. But that wasn't it. I
So
mean,
silly candy bars and memory cards escalated into stealing computers.
right, but that wasn't it. That wasn't the thing. I did
You
get
didn't
caught for
get caught
that.
doing that?
Well, I did get caught, but I didn't go away. I didn't get sent to prison. You know, I was put on probation. I returned all the computers that I stole, and I paid restitution. And I felt like that was a pretty
Paid
big,
restitution, so like ended up costing you a lot.
well, because I stole a lot. I ended up only selling like one of them, and then I got caught trying to sell another one, and that's when I got arrested there. So I just had to pay
It was
back
your first
one.
arrest?
Yeah. And then the rest of them, I mean, I just turned them over. And so, you know, all in all, I guess not a horrible outcome. They did give me a felony, but I mean, all in all, not a horrible outcome. I was very scared. I remember crying in the city.
You should. So you decided to stop stealing, but how long did it last for?
Exactly. So, because I still didn't address any of my like why I stole. I was just like, oh, okay, I learned my lesson now. That was scary. I don't want to do that again. Um, it lasted for a pretty good amount of time, I'd say. So after that, trying to figure out what I want to do. My biology background is like not. I never wanted to be a doctor in the first place. So I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
So the biology had been like a pre-med type thing. That had been the idea because every Korean needs to be a doctor.
Yeah, exactly. And my mom wanted me to be a doctor.
So a lot of pressure to perform for others.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't until really late in my life that I actually grew the confidence to like tell her no.
Really late in your life?
Like at 18, right? Like,
That's not-
or not not at 18, 20, 21 or what, like,
Yeah.
you know, when I'm right before I'm about to graduate or whatever, right? So,
Do you have student debt?
yeah, I saw some.
Oh boy, that's tough, man.
Yeah, I saw some I'm paying off.
That's brutal.
Well, you know, because I couldn't address that during my incarceration, right? And stuff like that.
Well, the whole student debt thing, I mean, that's such a challenge for society, you know?
I agree.
And the school's not sweating it. The school's not on the hook for it.
Yeah.
You know, where the bank, if it was a loan for a house, you know, the bank's at least somehow liable for it, you know, like the house is collateral, but no, you know, the school just walks away. But that's a whole nother thing. Well, let's solve reentry and then we'll solve
Well, those
higher
are
education.
there's two kinds of debts that you can't erase. That student loan is one of them. Even bankruptcy won't erase it. It's also restitution.
Yeah.
That's another one. I got both of those, so I'm pretty well situated there, I guess.
Let's get that going for you.
I got that going for me. But yeah, like I didn't.
I was just wondering.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the reason I brought that up, that adds up to the pressure we're building up to
Sure.
big fall. So
Yeah.
that's a tough thing to carry, you know. And you don't have options. You're under the pressure from the family, and now you have this huge, you know. I don't know what yours was. Some of my friends graduated from college, like $200,000 of debt. Some have $300,000 of debt. They're in their early 20s, and they can't get a job either. You know, some of them choose to change fields.
Sure.
Others of them can't get employed in the area they were educated for. That's just tough. That's brutal. Okay, so you're in your mid-20s. You decide no longer to go into be a doctor.
Yeah. So, you know, what do I do? And that's kind of how I fell into tech. It started off with just a data entry gig for a company called Apartment List. And I liked the vibe, right? I go into this place, a beautiful office, lots of friendly people, They're doing some cool things on the computer, which I've always been to computers. And they're like doing catered lunch and stuff like that, and all these perks like snacks, right? And I'm like, yeah, this is the kind of situation I want to be. So it's a data entry gig, but I work my butt off. Like figuring out like all kinds of little tools to make my job easier, this data entry easier. And I think I impressed them, right? Because I'm like outperforming everybody else there. And eventually they make me an offer to come on full time. So, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I got this pass. I kind of escaped it, right? Because like it didn't come up. I didn't have to really interview for this. Like I kind of came into this contractor position. I wowed them with that. And
Had you faced that in other job applications? The felony on your record?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, I think that was actually detracting me from even applying to a lot of jobs. And so I was kind of on this Craigslist hunt for a while. I was just like doing gigs on Craigslist, trying to figure out what it is I exactly wanted to do. And yeah, so that
Did you
was,
see the movie Ant-Man?
yeah, for sure. Love that movie.
I loved it too, but that scene where he's, like he can't get a job because he gets out, and then the whole, the was it, Baskin Robbins night manager,
And yeah,
and like I like that. I was torn on that because part of it, I'm glad they said it with humor, but it's heartbreaking, man. You're very, very talented guys, but the felony is the new scarlet letter, and it follows you around for life. And, the biggest thing for successful reentry and turning your life around, two things: healthy community, which, brings healing and self, recognition, and then a job. When they have those two things, they succeed.
Mhm.
But then we make it very, very hard by stigmatizing them from society.
yeah.
And then, a job, it's like, can't even get a job at McDonald's, man.
I think in that movie, a lot of it for him was maybe not being upfront with it. And actually, I think because I've learned some different ways to.
Well, the movie's obviously humor. So,
Oh,
yeah,
sure,
but-
sure. I mean, I had a similar experience though, where I just remember this. Like, I remember I got a manufacturing gig, actually, paid decently, right? It was basically like really rote work where I'm just kind of like stamping little like microchips, like for 8 hours a day. But I was actually really good at stuff like that. So I remember my very first day, and I didn't tell them that I had anything on my background, right? I totally ignored that whole section. But I remember my first day, I think I met like the quota that like somebody who's been there for a while had met. And so like I was obviously doing pretty well. But they did run a background check, and they found out, so they got rid of me right away. So I think that contributed also to my fear of like being up like
It's really a tough one, because I have another one of my friends, maybe I'll have him on the podcast in the future, and he's doing great. I met him in San Quentin, and for whatever reason he got out. He was able to get a job in sales and in solar panels,
Sure.
and was performing very well. And I think he told him and brought it up, but he didn't bring it up on the interview.
Mm.
He brought it up later,
Mm.
and it all worked out great. It's a tough one. It's a challenge, man. You can see it from both sides, but I mean, okay, data. The data shows that the reentry population, are not more of a risk as employees than the general population. And if you give them the right environment, they're actually better employees because they're grateful for the opportunity, less likely to leave.
Right.
And if you understand this and create a safe environment, I mean, hiring anybody's a risk. It's no more of a risk. And so we need to open up our hearts and, address that, that's the full circle. That's one of the things you're doing. Okay, so on with the story. You're having a hard time finding a job. As much of it is psychological, probably holding you back, and then you find a nice gig.
Sure, I found a nice gig. And at this point, I feel like all that past behavior is behind me. Like I've got another shot. Like God gave me another shot. Is like kind of how I felt, and I was like, I can't mess this up.
So you're talking about God. You're a guy of faith, right? So you were raised in the church. So God, you're like talking to God. You're feeling God is with you through this whole thing. Like you feel like he, saved you from worse consequences. You're praying to him. How's your faith informing this?
Like I'll be honest. I know we had a conversation, but like it's actually it's tricky for me to be fully transparent. And like there are situations. It's been wavering, I'd say. So um
Well, I don't think any, the perfect saint is probably lying.
but I do find myself in. I mean, as cliche goes, in like the trouble, like the most troublesome times, like I do find myself praying and just like asking and like reaching out, right? And then maybe in my couple of times I don't, right? I think that's a pretty common story. Um, but I do remember when I was incarcerated the first time. Yeah, I was praying my butt off, right? In that jail cell, I was crying. Like I thought everything was over. At like what 19 years old.
Oh, you were incarcerated that first time.
Oh yeah, I mean I was in a jail for like 3-4 days.
Oh,
Yes, sir. I never like it. Just I was bailed out by my brother. Because he's been like my savior,
your younger brother.
older brother. Yeah.
Oh, so you were the middle child.
So it's actually two. I'm the youngest, and I have one older brother.
Okay, so when you got in trouble, okay, I misunderstood. When you got in trouble
yeah.
by your mom for
Right.
putting the sticker on, it was your older
My
brother
older
who had
brother,
done it, and
yeah.
you, okay, that makes sense. I can relate to that. Okay, so you're not the chosen one.
Yeah,
You're the younger son.
the younger.
Oh, okay. Run of the family.
Yeah,
Because they're always comparing you to someone who's slightly older.
yeah.
It worked out good for me, though. I have an older brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we would fight. He would just, whatever. We'd play all the time. We played basketball in high school all the time. And so I'm always playing against a guy bigger than me.
Sure.
We would play one-on-one. It'd get brutal. I mean, like we had these evergreen trees right around like our driveway, and we'd get sweaty and then push each other into it. Oh, we'd play to 11. I never won a single game. Beat me every time. He was so competitive. And I used to think he bullied me. Then I saw, like once we were in high school, he's a senior and I'm like, or he's a junior and I'm a freshman or something like that. And one of his friends like started picking on me. He went red. Like I thought he was going to actually kill him. I go, oh, that's when he's really mad. He's just playing with me. Yeah. Anyways, that's how I got good. When he left, I'm like, okay, I got the better half of that deal, and everyone else is easy.
I think I see that in sports a lot. Like the youngest person in the family is the one, and I think it's because of that.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. Yeah. You also know that, like in Olympic sports, siblings are far overrepresented.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Because in like outdoor skiing or pick any sport like that, and it's being in the environment, having all the equipment, the family commitment to it. So if one sibling's in it, the other sibling will get in it. So then they're overrepresented.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, so you're the younger son. Your older brother bailed you out. Okay.
Yeah.
What else do you have him? So you had obviously like any of us, when we're in a problem, you turn back to, your faith sort of informed you at least enough to pray to God, and he got you out of your trouble. So that's very biblical, like that's the start of the Bible. Human beings screwing up, crying out to God, God delivering them, and us screwing up again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Story of my life, right? Well, yeah, I mean, I really did feel like he got me this job. And so, I'm loving this. I'm loving this, right? Like I'm at a place, people are treating me like family. Probably one of the best cultures I've ever worked at. So, I do that pretty diligently for like 5 years. Making my way up, getting promoted. People seem to respect me. Yeah, just like really living the dream, right? There's a lot of things that happen here, but it's at this point where I try to reconcile like this rocky relationship with my mom. And I invite her to like live with me again. Um, and I mean, I don't want to blame anything, but like I think I invited a lot of like turmoil back into my life, thinking that like I was ready to.
So she was in a place of need, so you invited her back into.
I mean, kind of. She was living on her own. I mean, I think she would always frame it as like, you know, it's urgent that she come back into my life or something. But um, we had like she was living, so I was living at this time in East Bay, like near Berkeley, El Cerrito area. She was living in Daly City.
Was she born here or is she an immigrant?
Oh, we're both immigrants. So I came over when I was like three to four.
Oh, okay.
And she came over, yeah, when she was
Big
in her
culture.
yeah, big culture shift. So she, you know, she couldn't really find a good job here. That's why we grew up poor. She just never picked up English very well. Yeah, and then single mom and all that. But yeah, we're both immigrants. Yeah, didn't get along. You know, we grew up in Sacramento, actually, Stockton, Sacramento. I came over here for college. She stayed behind. And eventually she kind of like followed me over here. And then, you know, I'm living in my own place and she's like living in like somebody's room in Daly City. And so like, you know, we're in touch and she's always trying to like say like, hey, you know, we should live together. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Eventually, like I feel like I'm at a place where I can try that again. You know, I want to, you know,
That's the cultural expectation.
It
too,
is,
right?
it is.
Plus, it all makes a lot of sense too. It's tough, man.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Cultural expectation, and then like, you know, a bit of, yeah, like that's where the guilt comes from, right? I'm like, she's all alone. She doesn't have a partner. My brother's in SoCal, so it's really up to me to take care of her.
She didn't want to move to SoCal.
No, I think because I'm the run, she's like,
She's got to help you.
yeah, she feels like she has to like mother me. I mean, you know, I get that, but she's always like trying to get all up in my business, I guess, right? So yeah, she's hovering around me, right? She's helicoptering around me, trying to tell me what to do with my life, right? But yeah, eventually I'll say that I acquiesced, right? Eventually I'm like, okay, we'll try this again. I don't think that was a good idea. And yeah, you know, just a lot of the same spats, a lot of fights, right? She wants me to go to school. She doesn't approve of me working at a startup for whatever reason, right? I invite her to tour and she's like, oh yeah, this is it. And like, what's so good about this? She go to school again. You know, just general like disappointment of my life, right? Um, so naturally I find a girlfriend. And there's a pattern here I'm recognizing where it's like disappointment from mom, trying to project it onto a girl. Mind you, like since college, since that relationship ended after I was arrested, I hadn't dated the whole time. I was just like, let me just focus on work, remove all that. So mom comes into the picture, and then lo and behold, I find a girlfriend. I'm spending most of my time with her, and then there's a lot of stuff. But okay, but eventually I leave that apartmentless position. I find another position at this place called Rio Mobility. It's they're helping people like buy wheelchair attachments to turn into scooters.
Okay.
That's a pretty cool idea. It's a small operation. So I'm there as like a COO. I'm like trying to run that operation, and so this is where we're getting into the story. And you know, everything's going pretty well. He's a bit of an interesting character, I'd say, to work for. Kind of reminds me of my mom in terms of like controlling, a little overbearing, but you know, I'm enjoying the work. We have like a profit sharing agreement, so I'm feeling like I'm being compensated pretty well. You know, as long as I'm doing my work well, selling more units, then I'll see a similar uptick in my paycheck, right? So, yeah, just running the operation, you know, like so far so good. Like I feel pretty secure in that. And I think the catalyst of this whole thing was we had our very best 2 months or 2 or 3 months like in the company's 10-year history, with me at the helm. And so I'm seeing my paycheck. I'm seeing that this paycheck is going to be like a pretty decent sized paycheck. We're talking about probably like 20, 30K on that 1 month. So, feeling pretty good, pretty good about where I'm at. The next morning I come in and I get my paycheck, the direct deposit, and it's my base salary, right? I look at the books and it's showing all these kind of adjustments that happen at like 11 p.m. the night before, by my partner, the other person at the company. And I obviously have some questions. So he comes in and I ask him like what happened. And he just kind of like gives me this infuriating kind of like shrug. He's just like, like it's just some adjustments have to be made, right? And then I'm thinking about the operations. I'm thinking about some of the books, and like none of the inventory really matched with like the inventory in the QuickBooks should be 1-to-1 with what's on the shelf, right? And I remember I had asked him before about that, and he kind of shrugged it off too. I guess all that to say is like there have been some weird issues with the operations of this company, right? That like I don't really have good answers for. Yeah, there's other parts to this too, where when I first started working here, his girlfriend was basically in the role that I was in. She was a professor at a university nearby, so she couldn't do that full time. That's where they were trying to hire me. And I remember we started setting up these like weekly meetings, me and her, because she told me that he was like, I don't know the right term here, but like maybe difficult to work for, or like it was she wanted to facilitate that communication.
Yeah.
Because of her own experiences maybe with dealing with him. She wanted to make sure, based on her own experiences with him, that everything was going to be copacetic between.
So he rips you off for a significant amount of change.
Right. I mean, that's how it felt, right? And that's how I took it, right? Like I couldn't get any answers. He's kind of struck me off. I felt pretty confident that like I was owed something that I was promised, and he kind of pulled the rug on me, and like I'm not sure why. There's no good answer here. And so my solution to that was to steal from the company. And what I did was I had taken some of the units and I had basically put them on like eBay and like sold them out from under the company. Now, this is where it gets a little complicated, and like it is a bit difficult because throughout the whole court process, I never actually told my side of the story, but there was like a picture that was painted, and I understand why this picture was painted, but it's complicated. And like anyway, I can attest that I stole a certain amount, 9 or 10 units, sold them for maybe $1,000 a piece, which is like close to like 60% of like what its actual value was, right? I know I sold that much because that's how many listings I had. That's how many units I took. Like I created invoices to like try to balance that out of the books. So like that's how many that I stole and sold. The issue is, so after I did that, I, for some reason, I'm counting the inventory downstairs, and I'm realizing the numbers are actually really off. Not even accounting for even the 10 that I took. We're talking about like a discrepancy of like 30, 40 units, right? And so I felt like it's my duty to tell my partner that these counts are off. Like maybe we can figure out why that is. So, obviously he panics a little bit. He's like, she's trying to figure it out too. And he goes onto his computer. I didn't even know eBay could do this, but like he found recent things that were sold, and he finds my listing on eBay. And he's like, do you know this company that I created, right? For selling these units? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And he's like, well, I don't know the seller either. Sounds like there's some kind of thievery that happened or some kind of theft. And so like this is kind of crazy situation that was created, right? Because I know I stole some. I'm already feeling super guilty about that. And and then I like there's a bigger amount that's stolen that I'm not sure how to account for. So like I guess the purpose of this is because what I'm trying to say is like over the couple months that followed that, where I'm kind of like really feeling guilty and wanting to come clean about what I did. Um, it's like I'm trying to figure out how do I talk about these units that I didn't steal.
Wow.
So then in that way, it's really complicated, right?
It's very complicated.
And there's even more to that, but like
Yeah,
we're gonna stick with that for now. And
so
mhm.
when it went to court, did you basically get pinned for all of them?
That's not what I went to court for, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I was again feeling very very guilty about this. So I mean we fast forwarded through some stuff, but at this point I'm with my at this point my life is actually like decent, right? Like I actually have a girlfriend who I feel like I'm pretty serious about. Um and yeah, although there's a mom situation, like there's some good stuff in my life right now, and I did this pretty impulsively. Like I'm like screw this guy. I'm gonna get my money back from him. After I made these moves, you know, I'm just thinking about like the risk I put myself under, like the things everything I can lose, and I'm just like this is pretty dumb. I'm thinking like how do I like make this right? How do I like, you know, is there a scenario where I could keep my job and just like pay this off and like tell him, right? Um Now that this comes out, it makes it a lot harder to do that, and I'm like this whole time like I'm like I know I got to come clean, but how do I do this, right? Um so like I'm being tasked to investigate myself basically, right? He's like figure out who this is, figure out what happened here, and I'm like shit, like what do I do here? Um and like so as time goes on, it's like more and more pieces of the puzzle come out, right? Like cuz I'm pretty dumb when it comes to crime. I got caught every single time I did crime. I'm pretty stupid. So like, you know, this eBay listing that I set up, that was pretty stupid, and you know, it has all my information, like it's my account, it's pretty dumb. I'm not doing very good hiding it. Like so anyway, like it's only a matter of time in my mind before like it comes out. And so I'm thinking to myself, I gotta come out. I gotta get ahead of this. That's the one way maybe I could salvage this, right? Like I gotta just lay it out, despite what I'm scared. Like maybe I'm scared of like maybe doing some jail time, whatever. I'm scared of losing my job. I'm scared of like what my fiance or not my now fiance, but my girlfriend at the time, what she'll think about it. But I know I have to come clean. So I admit I wait a pretty long time. I wait probably too long because when it starts getting pretty close, I'm like, okay, I gotta get ahead of this. Anyway, I think I'm getting a little worked up here.